Daily Pink Slip.
From roller coasters careening off the rails to a haunted house straight out of hell, we're counting down the top 7 amusement park disasters of all time. Number 7. Fujin Raijin roller coaster, Osaka, Japan. Through the closed gates of the now abandoned Expoland lie the remains of what was once the most exhilarating ride in the park. But on May 7, 2007, the high-speed thrill ride quickly turned into high-speed terror on the track. Coming around a sharp turn, an axle on the 6-car coaster snapped in half, sending part of the coaster train off the rails and slamming into a guardrail. 20 people were on board when it happened. Tragically, a 19-year-old woman hit her head on the guardrail and was killed instantly. Her friend sitting across from her survived but was seriously injured. Every other passenger on board suffered a slew of injuries, mostly minor to moderate. Recalling the event, one rider was quoted, "The roller coaster was swinging left and right. Just as I was thinking it might fall off, I heard a scraping sound followed by people screaming." A subsequent investigation revealed that the park's operator was negligent in inspecting the coaster and noted that the broken axle had never been replaced since the coaster was launched back in 1992. After the incident, the park struggled to operate for a few more years, but could never regain corporate sponsors nor the trust of the public. The park still stands abandoned to this day. Number 6. Thunder River Rapids, Dreamworld, Australia. What could be more fun than hopping on a water ride on a hot summer's day? That's exactly what 6 people did when they boarded Thunder River Rapids at Dreamworld in October of 2016. Unbelievably, tragedy didn't strike until a few minutes after the ride was over. Thunder River Rapids is basically a giant floating tube that can hold up to 6 people. It meanders its way through an artificial canyon simulating the whitewater rafting experience, complete with overhead waterfalls guaranteed to give you a good soak. At the end of the ride, each tube works its way to a large conveyor belt which brings the riders back up to the station to unload. The ride was butted up against the conveyor, waiting to be taken up next when all of a sudden the next tube in line slammed into the first one. The impact was so violent it flipped the first tube over and upside down. 2 men were flung out of the tube and into the grates of the conveyor belt where they were crushed by powerful machinery. 2 women that were still trapped in the boat, which was now on top of them, tried to escape but were unable to free themselves before drowning. The remaining 2 children initially pinned down by the boat were able to free themselves and swim to safety, which police described as a minor miracle in itself. All in all, simply horrifying. As of this video, the cause of the freak accident has still not been determined. Authorities suggest that the park could face fines in excess of $3 million, but the damage to their reputation could cost them much more than that. Dreamworld is Australia's largest theme park and continues to operate today. Number 5. Waterworld Waterslide, Concord, California. Considered by most to be the worst waterslide accident in history, 32 were injured and 1 person was killed when a large section of the 75-foot-tall bonsai waterslide collapsed, plummeting to the concrete below. Disgustingly, the entire accident could have been avoided if personnel manning the waterslide had simply done their jobs. A group of 120 teens from a local high school visited the park on a hot summer's day. 33 of them decided they were going to try to break the school record for most people simultaneously on the waterslide. And well, you can guess what happened next. Under the immense weight, the waterslide fractured and collapsed. One witness was quoted as saying, "The water turned red with blood." Another said it was sheer pandemonium. As the slide came crashing down, those steering to the top fought an intense stream of water in order to climb to safety, but many of them did not make it. Investigators calculated that the slide buckled due to the teens accounting for more than triple the maximum weight rating. Before this incident, the park had a spotless safety record. Again, a completely preventable tragedy. Number 4. Haunted Castle, Six Flags Great Adventure, New Jersey. Fun houses and haunted mansions have always captured the imagination of the public, but on May 11, 1984, an attraction called the Haunted Castle at Six Flags Great Adventure turned into an unimaginable nightmare straight out of hell. Everyone inside the attraction was having a blast. Suddenly, the building erupted into flames. The multi-story pitch-black labyrinth quickly filled with suffocating smoke. Panicked thrill seekers scrambled to find their way to the nearest exit. While most made it out alive, 8 teens became trapped and died in the blaze. Their bodies were burned beyond recognition. In the end, dental records were used to positively identify the victims. Six Flags was subsequently charged with negligence. Later, regulatory compliance officers determined that a fire suppression system consisting of overhead sprinklers could have prevented the tragedy. The castle had no such system because it was classified as a temporary structure, and thus by law at the time was not required to have a fire suppression system. Ultimately, Six Flags was acquitted in negligence due to investigators later determining that the fire was caused by an arsonist. The arsonist was never found. Number 3. Big Dipper Roller Coaster, London, England. Occurring nearly 50 years ago, parkgoers still recall the day things went horribly wrong at the Battersea Fun Fair in London. Built in 1951, the Big Dipper roller coaster was once the most exciting amusement ride in England, attracting hundreds of thousands of riders a year. But its sound safety record came to an end on one fateful day in 1972. 31 unsuspecting riders boarded the train and everything was going fine until the coaster came near the top of one of the hills. Suddenly, a large snapping sound was heard, followed by the sound of grinding. Failing to crest the hill, the coaster reversed direction and began to scream backwards out of control. The rear car was already off the track, but continued to be pushed downward by the two cars attached to it. A brakeman riding the coaster tried to apply the emergency brakes, but it was no use. Then, sheer horror. The derailed car detached from the rest of the coaster and flew off the side, striking the ground at full force. All 5 children in that car perished. More than a dozen people in the first 2 cars also suffered a slew of injuries. Their cars derailed as well, but at least they remained atop the track. To this day, this remains the deadliest roller coaster accident in all of history. Number 2. Mindbender, Galaxyland Amusement Park, Alberta, Canada. Here we have another example of a roller coaster ride gone horribly wrong. This time, the Mindbender inside the West Edmonton Mall in Alberta, Canada. 12 people were riding at the time when suddenly the wheels on the rear car of the multi-loop indoor steel coaster detached from the train. At the time, the coaster was traveling nearly 60 miles per hour. 3 passengers were flung out of the rear car. Recounting the terrifying events, one witness on the ground vividly remembered all 3 victims being thrown against the pole, then falling 25 feet to the ground. The 2 men and 1 woman eventually succumbed to their injuries. Several others on board the cars that did not derail sustained minor to moderate injuries from whiplash. Several witnesses actually recall seeing technicians servicing the coaster, which had been closed for a bit about 30 minutes prior to the accident. Unbelievably, an Alberta province safety inspector inspected the coaster the very day before the accident, declaring it safe to ride. While the exact cause of the wheel separation was not reported, one has to wonder what was going through the safety inspector's mind in the days and months following the accident. Number 1. Eco-Adventure Valley Space Journey, Shenzhen, China. At one time or another, most of us have experienced the thrill of a simulator ride. Some simulate race cars, others roller coasters or airplanes. This particular attraction simulated the thrill of a NASA space shuttle launching into outer space. Everything at the attraction was working just fine on an unassuming June 2010 day. Loaded to capacity with 16 thrill seekers, the simulator began its program sequence flawlessly. Then, once high in the air, the simulator suddenly lost power. A subsequent loud explosion echoed throughout the park, and then sheer terror. The simulator detached from its struts, slammed into an adjacent simulator, and hurled 50 feet towards the ground. 6 people were killed instantly from the impact. The remaining 10 all suffered serious to life-threatening injuries. The official cause of the accident was never released by authorities. However, it's safe to assume that a lack of proper safety inspections and maintenance was likely the cause. The attraction never reopened. Bonus! Fabio Facial. Now, because of the rather gruesome nature of this video, let's try and lighten the mood a little before we go. Who remembers this little ditty from March of 1999? It was nothing more than a fun day at the park for 90s male sex symbol Fabio, as he hopped from ride to ride at Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia. Feeling adventurous, one posh and polished Fabio was there to board the first public run of Apollo's Chariot, the latest and greatest roller coaster to hit Busch Gardens. Strapped in the front row center, flanked by beautiful women, the media were all over him, ready to celebrate the exciting event. What nobody knew that day was that in just a few short minutes, it would be like Christmas Day for the paparazzi. With smiles all around, the train left the station. When it came back just a few minutes later, not so much. At some point during the 70-mile-an-hour thrill ride, the universe thought it funny to flip Fabio the bird, literally. A nearby nesting goose had just taken off and inadvertently flown into the path of the oncoming coaster. The goose hit the front of the train and was killed instantly, but ricocheted upward, striking Fabio in the nose. Beauty had become the beast. Upon pulling into the station, one might have thought that Fabio had just finished meleeing zombies with all the blood all over his body. Anyway, Fabio was fine. He had a small cut on his nose, needed 3 stitches, but that was all. We're gonna go ahead and call this the 4th greatest disaster in roller coaster history. Right on, Daily Pink Slippers. Catch you next time.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. We put up brand new videos every week, so hit that subscribe button and you won't miss a single one. And remember, if you watched this video at work and you still have a job, then you just dodged the Daily Pink Slip.